So for a long, long time, I was an 8th grade English teacher at Saluda Trail Middle School. How many of you know where Saluda Trail Middle School is? And one thing that I used to love to do with my students is read aloud. And this particular book called Jade Green, A Ghost Story by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor was one of my favorites to read in the month of October because with Halloween coming up, it's a good spooky story. Now, how many of you like scary stories? Okay, so this is a good one. If you like scary stories, which it looks like most of you do, you will love this book. So let me tell you a little bit about it. First of all, the main character of this book is a girl named Judith Sparrow. She's about 13 years old. She moves to a new town. She moves to the town of Charleston, or the city of Charleston. In this book it's a town, but now it's a city. And that was the very first thing that caught my attention about this book as I began reading, because I'm from Charleston too. So I thought it was pretty cool that the character in the book is going to live in Charleston, because I wanted to see if there are going to be things that she talks about, that she mentions, that I know about too. And there are. And so in this book, the main character moves to Charleston. She is an orphan. Before she leaves her hometown, her home state of Ohio, she loses both of her parents. They both pass away. And so she goes to Charleston to live with her uncle, who she'd only met at this point one other time. And he has an older son named Charles. He also has a housekeeper named Miss Hastings that when she moves into his home, she gets closer to, and it becomes one of her really, really good friends. Now, she moves to Charleston into her uncle's house, and the only thing he tells her not to do, he says, you can do whatever you want, you can get a job, you don't have to work, you can do whatever you want, but the only rule that I have for you living in my house is that you do not bring anything of the color green. Now, that seems very strange. At first, I'm wondering, why does he not want anything green in the house? That just seems weird. And she thinks it's weird, too. When she leaves Ohio, she has a picture frame with her mom's picture in it that is green, and that she decides that she cannot leave it behind. So she violates this rule from the very, very beginning by bringing this green object into her uncle's house. Now, of course, she's confused about what would happen. She feels like if I just hide it and I don't let anybody see it, that it'll be fine. So as the story goes on, she discovers what happens because she brought the color green into the house. Mm-hmm. She goes to work, she gets a job, she goes to work one day, and her co-worker tells her, hey, so I know you're living in this house now, the Sparrow house, and your uncle's there, and everybody there seems to be pretty nice. But your house that you're living in has a spooky story about it. If you bring in anything green into the house, you will see the ghost of a girl that died there named Jade Green. So I just want to read you a little snippet from one of the first chapters of the book where we learn a little bit of what begins to happen because she brings this green thing into the house. I stayed in the kitchen later with Mrs. Hastings until every fork and plate had been washed and put away. Then, long since exhausted, I bid her good night, went upstairs to my room, and sat myself down, relieved to be alone. I had scarcely the energy to take off my dress, but finally, taking my gown over my head, I slipped off my stockings, blew out the candle, and settled down beneath the covers. So fast I was falling asleep that I scarcely heard it at first. A faint scratching sound from my closet. My eyes opened a little, then closed. The sound came again. This time I sat up on one elbow and listened. It was a part scratching, part gnawing or clawing, as though something was trapped inside, within the wall or behind the baseboard. A light, gentle noise that did not seem urgent enough to wake me. So we have mice, I said aloud, and gave myself over to sleep. So this is just the very beginning of some of the strange things that begin happening in the house because she brings in the color green. And it does not just stop with noises. She sees strange things, and she's trying to put things together. So in addition to it being a story about the strange things that happen to her because she brings in the color green, you also learn in this story of what happened to the girl, Jade Green. So I strongly recommend this book as a good read for you for the month of October. I won't tell you too many details because I definitely want you to read it. But this book has 169 pages in it, so it's not very, very long. You could probably read it all before Halloween in 20 chapters. And again, it's called Jade Green, and it's by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor.